Good evening and welcome to our school committee budget meeting for year 2025-2026 school year. I'm Joe Amico. We have a full school committee available tonight to discuss our budget. The mayor will be running a little bit late, so I'm standing in for him now. What I'll do is I'll pass it along to Dr. Vidala, who will give us a recap on our first budget meeting, and then discuss and talk about what we are talking about this evening. Doctor? If we could, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Dr. Vidala.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. So as we know, budget reductions are never easy. Certainly a difficult situation. I appreciate the meeting that we had on Tuesday. As we began, we had a level service budget, $104,252,430. We were able to successfully reduce the budget by $1,847,394. That came through some elementary reductions, mostly of positions that were duplicative in nature as we're bringing in the center school, identifying those spots and being able to reduce across the board. And then also a difficult decision to reduce the virtual school for the in-person portion. However, still allowing the night program and some potential other options that we're working through. So overall, the reductions of 22.5 FTEs from the original proposal leave us with a budget number of $102,405,136. So roughly, we still have approximately about a $3.8 million deficit, which we will talk about today with some different areas. So I gave the school committee a packet today. There are 5 spreadsheets that we'll look at tonight. We'll take them one at a time. And by no means is this list an exhaustive list or anything that I expect the committee to vote on entirely tonight. We can take them line by line. I tried to identify the line item in the budget, and I'll propose things. So I've separated each one has reductions that can be classified as either tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3. As we look at tier 1 items are typically things that don't require bodies to be cut from the district and are things that we can live with. Tier 2 are hard. They're difficult to live with. They may require some cuts. They may require some reductions, but those are really going to be some hard cuts. And tier 3, I would consider to be very difficult, in some cases, devastating cuts that I hope that we don't have to get to. So hopefully we'll be able to get through tier 1 and tier 2. These are where I'm proposing, and certainly the committee may feel as though something belongs in a different category. This is just how I'll present it tonight. Similar to Tuesday night's meeting, nothing has to be voted tonight. We can certainly kick it off, but in the interest of time, in the interest of moving forward, as much as we can stomach tonight and as much as we can move forward with, I think that is in our best interests. And what we'll do is we'll keep a tally of the reductions, and I'll have a summary of the reductions made and where we're at, similar to what I led off with tonight. And I'll also keep separately the things that we've put aside, and we can circle back to them when we sort of get to the end. So if we can begin tonight with page 1 of the handout that I had. Page 1 is related to tab 17 in your binder, which is the special education budget. And I'd like to start with 3 positions that I consider tier 1 reductions. And for context, We began the budget with a level service budget, and then when we added the center school back, we said, we did a look back at 2024's budget, and we said, what did we have in place then when we had 8 elementary schools? Because during this school year, the FY25 budget, we had 7 elementary schools, and there were some efficiencies that we were able to realize. When we knew that we were bringing the center school back, we added back into the budget a team chairperson, a speech therapist, and an occupational therapist. Each one of those were in the budget in '24, but not in the 2025 budget. We were able to make do without these positions this school year. As we looked at the numbers, and I worked very closely with Ms. Crompton, our special ed director, and we looked back and said, okay, now we know who the students are that will be attending the center school, and we know where all of our students are, and now we know what all their services are. And in looking at this, these 3 positions are no longer necessary. We believe that we can meet everyone's needs without adding these back in. We have the same number of students next year. There's a couple of different locations, and similar to the specialist positions that I discussed, people may need to travel from one building to another in order to meet those needs, but we'll be able to schedule that. So we have 3 FTEs, a Unit B team chair, a speech therapist, and an occupational therapist that are budgeted in this budget that would be considered new positions that if they were kept in the budget, we would post and hire for them. What we're recommending now is that we take them out of the budget, we don't post and hire, and we meet the kids' services, we meet our student services with the staff that we currently have. Those 3 reductions would reduce this budget by $269,758. So I'll pause there and answer questions about these 3 positions.
Thank you, Dr. Vidal. And before we start, I just wanted to, and we stated this the other night, that this committee's, the way we've been operating for many years is that anytime we have reductions, we try to keep adults, we try to keep people in front of students before cutting anyone. So, and because some of these are on this list doesn't mean that they're not valuable positions, but we're going to try to do our best to keep as many adults in front of students because that's the right thing to do. But I just want to thank Dr. Vidal and his team for putting this together. I want to thank the school committee full group for being here tonight. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions. Ms. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Vidala, I want to let you know that I can support this. You had spoken about this earlier when we were talking about changes at the center school, so it doesn't come as a surprise, and I appreciate the fact that we will be able to service the students, and there may have to be some travel, but we've always had that type of situation. So I will make a motion that we follow the recommendation of the superintendent and reduce those 3 positions. So moved.
Motion by Ms. Dunn to reduce those 3 special ed positions, seconded by Mr. Olympio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to either the superintendent or I don't know if Ms. Crompton, whomever chooses, without filling these 3 positions, what impact, if any, does it have on current team chair people, current speech therapists, and current occupational therapists in the district?
So no one's caseload will increase by this. There may be someone who needs to travel. We do believe that some of the support staff that we have at the center school can stay in the same building, and so the travel would be down the hall rather than across the city. There may be someone who needs to travel to the building, but I don't believe it'll increase caseload. We'll be able to service, because we have the same number of students. So I think this is probably one of the easier cuts of the night.
And when we look at the backup, particularly on line 17004,
Yes.
In that grouping, I see that the position we're talking about is the fifth line in that grouping.
Yes.
Okay. The line above it,
Yep.
when I look to the fiscal '26 side of the grid, I see an increase of a significant amount there for that staff member. But I don't see any increase in FTEs or anything else. Is that a key punch error, or?
So are you looking at the front page or the back, of the backup?
So I'm looking at tab 17, page 2.
Yep.
And if we go down about halfway down the page, we see 1704 in blue. And
Yes.
then there are a series of entries under that. The fourth entry,
Okay.
has an increase of 106.9%.
Yes, that's a salary based on what that person would get this year. That may have been a person who was at 0.4 or 0.6 at a time, and now it's at one full FTE.
Yeah.
And so that the number you see for FY26 is consistent with the other numbers in the column for a full one FTE in the 70,000 range.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
not, yeah, no, so, but what I don't see on, or at least I don't think I see on the cover page, the first page in tab 17, is that difference. Is the difference in FTEs. If there's a difference in FTEs, someone came on in the middle of the year or is going to a full-time position or whatever the rationale is for it, but I don't see it under 1704. I see the increase of 1, which was that position that isn't filled, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, and so what's confusing about the page that you're looking at is it's, what you're looking at, the 109 increase is actually for 17005, because it's, the sum is at the bottom, the blue line at the bottom. And so we do see an increase of 1.0 FTE in that line, if that makes sense.
Well, no, I should see in 17,
Yeah, I mean, the person was listed as a 1, and their salary was reflected as 37 and change. And so it may have been that the salary was paid from either half from somewhere else, or if the person was paid in full, but the accurate number is the 77,000
Yeah.
for is the full FTE.
yeah, maybe, is Mr. Rippon with us tonight? Or he's at a conference, isn't he?
He is, but he's able to join us.
Yeah, no, I mean, because that's, I want to be able to understand what I'm looking at. I see on 1704, there's a difference or an increase in 1.0 FTEs, and I think that's the position that we've been talking about that's not filled. And then there's also this increase of 106.9, and maybe you're not considering it a difference in FTEs because the funding.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Rippon?
Welcome, Mr. Rippon.
Yes.
Sorry.
Hold on.
We can hear you.
Yeah, and I got the feedback here. Hold on. Let me get out of this. There, hopefully you don't have the feedback now. Okay, so.
That's much better. Thank you.
Thank you. In the 3 lines that superintendent is talking about reducing, 17001, 17004, and 17005, those numbers that are on the summary page, we did add 1 FTE, but the reason the numbers are higher than the amount indicated is in those amounts are also increases for the staff that are staying. So besides the 124,744 for the IEP chairperson not being hired yet, and won't be, assuming this is approved, there's another roughly $9,000 that are reflective of wage adjustments In this case, the wage adjustments are column move, are step increases. Because COLA, as we discussed on Monday, or Tuesday rather, were budgeted in central administration and segregated.
So, Mr. Rippon, do you have the budget book in front of you?
I do.
With the backup?
I do.
So if you go to the backup page,
Yes.
page 2,
Yes.
the fourth staff member down, initials HB, FY25 projected salary is $37,000. FY26 proposed budgeted salary is $77,000.
I see it. So that's what we're
Mr.
talking
Hockman
about.
is asking why the discrepancy.
Okay, fair enough. I believe, and I'd have to look at I guess I do have. I'd have to go into the file itself. My belief is that was funded. Yeah, that was funded somewhere else. Partially somewhere else.
Mr. Rippon, Mr. Rippon.
And I can look that up while you're continuing. I'll have an answer for you.
Yeah,
Well,
you can
let
get
me
that
do
answer
that.
tonight or another night, but I suspect.
And yeah, I'll mute myself. And when I'm ready, I'll raise my hand and come back.
Thank you. And then just similarly, it may be the same response, and I understand what you're saying. Now we're looking up. From the blues, we're looking up. So actually now under 1704, I see the third entry with what looks like a 24.2% increase. I don't know.
Yes, that would likely be a new degree. So if I'm looking at those numbers, person got a new degree and is in a new column. So the column changes are represented here, but not a COLA change.
So it'd be a lane change, right?
Or a column is, so the lanes are when they go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
okay. So it's a contractual, okay. Thank you.
No, please, Mr. Hockman, you still have the floor.
And Ms. Crompton is here, so I will ask her for my benefit. Your department and you were comfortable with this not filling new positions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Mr. Swanson?
Thank you. I'm good. I was reading the paper and correctly get it read up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions at this time? Mrs. Dunn?
It's just a question in general. If there's an employee name here, but no financial information at all, what is that situation? I'm looking on page 2, section 17001, last name there. That's just an example.
The last name listed
Yes,
in 17001?
yes.
I might be looking at something different, but I see salaries there.
I have an answer.
Yeah, it's just above 1700.
Hold on, Mr. Rippon. We'll go back to you shortly.
Sure.
That's the one.
Yeah, there's nothing here.
Yes.
Thank you, my question was answered. It wasn't a typo.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn.
The last item on number 17002 is a person who used to work in the department and no longer does, so there's no financial information for that employee for this year. And so, in general, we try to put the X's next to the people who are still there, and there's not an X next to that name, so that person is not in this current budget.
Okay. Any other comments before we go to a roll call vote? Any other questions? All right, thank you. Roll call vote, please, on the motion.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Okay, the motion was. All right, thank
Okay.
you very much. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Vidala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so Tier 2 reductions, as I stated before, Tier 2 a little bit harder and involve a little bit different. So these are two different positions, and we view them differently, and it's a situation where we kind of need to take these ones individually, not as a group. So the first one is we have a deaf and hard of hearing department. A number of years ago, you may remember, there were some students that we were able to bring back from Beverly School for the Deaf and educate them in Peabody for several years. 2 of them are graduating this year, so we're very happy for the students and their families. However, what that means is that we don't require the same amount of services to provide to students next year because we'll have 2 less students who are graduating. So we have been able to do the services within our current model with 1.8. So an employee who works a full-time 1.0, an employee who works a 0.8, 4/5 of a year, 4 days a week, and we're able to meet the needs of that. Next year, we would not have the need for the 0.8 position. That would be reduced by 0.8. Unfortunately, it requires less staff. One of those staff members would have to be informed that we are unable to meet those needs. So I can pause there and answer questions on this.
Just maybe by way of suggestion or preference, maybe, can we take, you have a bunch of proposals here that are Tier 1, some that are Tier 2, and I think maybe 1 or 2 that are Tier 3. Could we just take, instead of taking them chronologically as you've drafted them, could we take Tier 1s first and then get to Tier 2s? Since I think you're saying that Tier 1 is a cut that is easier to live with than the Tier 2?
If that makes sense, what I was thinking is there are certain things that we could say we're not ready to do that, and we could save them.
Sure.
Just
However you want to present it, but yeah.
I was thinking it would be easier to present location by location, and then we could, similar to Tuesday's meeting, we can say we're not ready to hear these 2 or we're ready to hear 1 of these 2, but just to hear what they are because they're all related to the same thing, and then move on.
Yeah,
but I'm happy to do whatever the committee would like.
My preference would be to stick to Tier 1s. I think that we've, I don't want it to appear, and I don't want it to be, and I know it's not your intent, so, and I know you, and I know this isn't your intent, but I don't want this to appear as if we're starting this process by picking off special education programs or departments or staff. I know it's not your intent. I'm not suggesting it is, but the optic of it isn't something that I think we can move on to a different. I know we started with elementary, and
Sure.
I know that there were some those Tier 1 special education reductions were non-filled positions. Rather than getting into filled positions, maybe we can stay with non-filled positions.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Does anybody have any thoughts on that particular item? Mr. Amico?
Thank you, through the chair, and to Dr. Hockman. I was thinking the same thing, and I'm not sure why we're tiering these, if that makes any sense. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. I mean, they're all valuable positions, but through the chair, Mr. Hockman's point, I do see his not argument, but his reasoning for that, to maybe just stay with Tier 1 and then just continue down. But What I would probably want to know more so is why they're tiered instead of just, I mean, they're all valuable positions to us. I don't know. So I don't know what else the committee wants to do, but I do see the value in Mr. Hockman's questioning that.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. Anybody else have any thoughts on how we're going to proceed in terms of the tiers? Mr. Olympio?
Thank you. No, how I just simply interpret it is obviously the tier ones, there's positions that aren't going to be filled, but there's not going to be any cuts. Okay, no one's going to lose their job. Tier 2, it gets a little more complicated, and Tier 3 are the ones that, we're trying to avoid. So it really doesn't matter to me how we proceed. We could certainly do Tier 1s. To me, that's, if no one's losing their job, then, yeah, those are the, for lack of a better word, the easier ones. And then maybe that might be helpful for some people to make some decisions on Tier 2 once we kind of know what we eliminated off the top, the easier cut. So, yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Miko.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Olympio. I think that makes a lot more sense. So I would support what Mr. Hockman and what Mr. Olympio just said.
Okay, thank you. If we turn to sheet number 2. Okay, so on Tuesday we talked about a position at the Burke Elementary School and we needed more information. So the position was in the Milestones program, and I thought that it would be a good idea. I worked with Ms. Crumpton to take a look at the entire program K through 12 and look at the enrollment and look at the staffing and to make some recommendations based on that. So we can see that there's a grouping of 3 things. Under current, at the Burke Elementary School, we have 36 students in the Milestones program this year, staffed by 4 teachers and 8 paraprofessionals. So students in this program are in a small group, approximately 9 students with a teacher and a handful of paraprofessionals to provide the support. At the Higgins, there are 14 students in the program with 2 teachers and 5 paraprofessionals. At the high school, there are 27 students with 3 teachers and 6 paraprofessionals, and we have a post-grad program for students in the 18 to 22 range, staffed by 1 teacher and 3 paraprofessionals. So a total of 87 students, 10 teachers, and 22 paraprofessionals in this current year's budget. Notice that at each level, it's about 9 students per teacher, and then additional paras to support each of the classrooms. So next year, we are projecting 27 students at the Burke Elementary School. There are 11 students, so this is the comment to the right. There are 11 students rising to the Higgins Middle School and 2 students entering from pre-K. So they'll be entering K. So by reducing this to 3 teachers and 7 paraprofessionals, it will maintain our current student to staff ratio, and it will result in staff members being reassigned but not cut. So as we go up, we'll have 18 students at the Higgins with 2 teachers and 5 paraprofessionals, 25 students at the high school with 3 teachers and 6 paraprofessionals, and 12 students in our post-grad program with the 1 teacher and the 3 paraprofessionals. So next year we anticipate a total of 82 students, and we believe that we can staff that with 9 teachers, 21 paraprofessionals. So the net reduction would be 1 teacher salary, 1 paraprofessional salary, these 2 staff members. And I want to be very clear about how we do these things. We take a lot of pride in how we take care of our students and how we attend to our students, but also how we professionally treat our teachers. We have a great relationship with our union, and anytime people are displaced. We've had a number of times at the Welch School, at the Center School, where teachers are displaced. We meet with them, we get their input, we talk to the entire group, and we talk about options, and we work with them professionally in order to make sure that they're comfortable with whatever reassignment and that they have a say in that, and it's served us pretty well. So when we have situations like this, where there might be a reassignment, I just want everyone to know that it is done in a very thoughtful way, in a very caring way, and we involve everyone. And so there's not a punitive, you get a letter of where you need to go next year. So we do take this. This is a reduction to the budget. We make sure the kids are taken care of, and we make sure our staff are taken care of. So anytime we do that, I just want to put that out there, that we take great thought and a lot of time will go into the personal side of this. So in this case, based on this information, we do believe we can reduce the budget by 2 FTEs and $101,026.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. We'll open that item up for comments, questions. Okay, Mrs. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to follow the recommendation of the superintendent and reduce the staffing on the Milestones program by 2 FTEs with the acknowledgement that those staff members will be reassigned in the district.
Second.
Thank you for the motion by Mrs. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Amico. Any comments? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Thank you. If we turn our attention to item number 3. Okay, similar look at our Therapeutic Learning Community, or our TLC program, previously called Choices, and at the high school was called the Community School, has been rebranded to the TLC program. It is our program for students with emotional and behavioral challenges at the elementary school housed at the West. So this year, throughout the year, we had 17 students at the West Elementary School, staffed by 2 teachers and 8 paraprofessionals. At the Higgins, 10 students, 2 teachers, 4 paraprofessionals. At the high school, 22 students in the community high school with 4 teachers and 2 paraprofessionals. So a total of 49 students, 8 teachers, 14 paraprofessionals. We had a lot of movement this year at the West Elementary School. 2 students will be rising to the Higgins next year as 5th graders. We did have 5 students throughout the year at this program that we were not able to meet their needs in district, and they required an additional level of service, and we were able to find placements for those students. And then we have 2 students who are entering from other schools that will attend next year. So this year, 2 teachers and 8 paraprofessionals. Given the nature of the program, next year there'll be 12 students, so the number of students will go down. So we believe that we still need the 2 teachers for that, but we believe that we can meet the needs of those students with 6 paraprofessionals, given the students that have moved on. And this would result in reassignments of 2 paraprofessionals, but not cuts. The Higgins will have 7 students with 1 teacher and 4 paraprofessionals. Now, even though we have 2 teachers budgeted here at the Higgins this year, we did lose the teacher throughout the year, and we were not able to replace that teacher. So this program has been functioning with 1 teacher this year for the 10 students. Next year, it would only have 7 students. And so we believe that if we did not fill that position, it's currently not filled now, if we did not fill it next year, that we would be able to sustain the level of need with just those 7 students. So keeping the 4 paraprofessionals that we have and the 1 teacher that we have. We're looking at 22 students next year. The number of students rising is the same as the number of students graduating, so we would keep the same at the community high school. So our total 41 students with 7 teachers and 12 paraprofessionals next year. So the proposed reduction would be 1 teacher at the Higgins, which that reduction is a position that we would just not fill and not budget for next year, and then 2 paraprofessionals at the That's a typo in the bottom. It's at the West Elementary School, and the line item is correct at 8014. And so the total reduction of this would be 3 FTEs and $127,475.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. We'll open that up. Questions, Mr. Swanson?
Thank you. Due to Dr. Vidala. Just looking at section 8, line 814, could you just check my reading? The book says there's
5,
5
6.
now?
Yes, so there are currently 8 paraprofessionals, 5 paid from the appropriated budget, 3 paid from the IDEA grant.
Okay.
And so I wanted to include all the paras, but for the purposes of this, the 5 FTEs would go to 3 FTEs, and we would continue to pay 3 FTEs out of the IDEA grant.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Any other comments, questions for our superintendent? Mr. Ockman.
Just a comment. If someone's going to take this up by way of a motion, I'd ask that we do them separately. I don't think I'm going to support reduction of a teacher at this point, even though it's not a filled position. It's probably a necessary position. I think, support the paraprofessional reduction if someone else were to propose that.
Okay, any comments, questions? Mr. Miko?
Through the chair to Dr. Vidala. Dr. Vidala, that position at the Higgins, the special ed teacher, that is not filled, was that not filled all year, or was that just something that happened during the year?
It's pretty much been all year. I believe we tried to fill it in September. It wasn't filled, and we've been able to make do with the entire year.
So it's basically been the whole year?
Basically been the entire year, correct. And there will be less students next year. There'll be 3 less students, so there'll be only 7 instead of 10. And so just to confirm again, so the proposal is for 5 staff members to be responsible for those 7 students next year at the Higgins.
Mr. Miko, you still have the
Thank
floor.
you. Thank you for that, through the chair to Dr. Vidala. With that being said, where that position was not basically filled the whole year, and, you know, we're still in Tier 1 here. So I will make a motion to reduce the one special ed teacher at the Higgins that is not currently filled and hasn't been filled for most of the year. So moved.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Amico, seconded by Mr. Olympio. Any further comments on this item, this position? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
No.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
No.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Carries.
Thank you. And we do have the 2 additional positions totaling $127,475. No, wait a minute.
So that's 52.
2 positions totaling $52,898. Mr. Amico?
I'd like to make a motion to reduce the Burke Special Education para.
Sorry, West. It's West.
Was it the West?
Typo on mine.
Oh, I
It's a West.
apologize. The West Special Ed para that will be reassigned. So moved.
Second. Thank you. Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Amico, seconded by Mr. Olympio. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. If we turn our attention to page number 4, we move our attention to the Higgins Middle School. At the Higgins, we have a large staff, and we have a lot of support, great culture here. And during COVID, we used ESSER funds to create an instructional coach position. It's a Unit A position. It's a non-teaching position. We were able to fund that through ESSER up until this year, and then it was put in the regular budget. We were able to afford it in the regular budget. Unfortunately, it is a non-teaching position, and given where we are, we would be recommending moving that person back into the classroom. So, person has multiple certifications, and we have multiple retirements this year at the Higgins. So instead of posting for one of those core teaching positions, we would eliminate the instructional coach, and the person would return to the classroom. Mr. Busey has talked to the person who's currently in this role, and they're very open to that. Has been out of the classroom supporting teachers in an instructional coach role and excited to return to the classroom. So the salary that you see would be, right now I just picked the lowest retiree salary. The person's salary will stay the same. The retiree salary is the savings. So again, I would consider this a tier 1 reduction. It's a great position to have, but given where we are, I don't think we can support it in this budget.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. I'll open that item up. Mrs. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we follow the recommendation of the superintendent and reduce the position for instructional coach. So moved.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mrs. Dunn, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. On the motion, Mr. Miko.
Sure, thank you. Through the chair to Dr. Vidal. And the only thing that I would disagree with Dr. Vidal on this is I work very, very closely with an instructional coach in my role, and I wouldn't consider this a tier 1 because I get a lot of support even as a teacher almost in my 25th year. I work very, very closely with my instructional coach, so I respectfully disagree that it's really not a tier 1. I think this is a position that we really need to, especially with newer teachers, but even with veteran teachers, it's always great to have someone to back you up and run things by, because our jobs are very, very difficult. So I will support it, but respectfully, I disagree that it is an important position.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. And I would say that this is a very important position. We're classifying tier 1 as that we don't have to cut anybody and no one's going to lose their job. Not that it's not important. And thank you for clarifying that, because it is an important role. And I think that they all are important roles. But the only reason this is tier 1 is because no one's going to lose a job, and there's a safe landing place for this person, not because the position is not important. Thank you, though.
All right, thank you. On the motion, Mrs. Dunn.
I understand what Mr. Amico's saying. It's a difficult position to take away, because I remember for how many years we fought to have a position like that, and it really is a shame. The fact that it was created and funded with the ESSER funds, that also is one of those tough things that we knew that money was going to go away and would impact on our budget, and it's a shame that we can't keep it going. But I agree that it's tough. I just think we have to do it this time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hockman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dr. Vidal, I'm just trying to understand the accounting of this, and I don't think like Mr. Olympio, so I don't understand some of the language. I think you said that the reduction that we're seeing in the document you gave us is the salary that we're going to lose, and not the salary of the employee.
Yes. So the reduction is the reduction that the thing that's coming out of this will be. So there's a line item for the instructional coach.
Yeah, I see.
But they're in the same grouping. So under general education teachers, there's 74 FTEs. So the reduction in the salary will be, like this person might move from instructional coach to, say, English teacher. There's an English teacher that's retiring, or
Yep.
say a math teacher that's retiring.
Yep.
That person's salary is the savings, because we're not paying that person next year. The person who's in the instructional coaching position, who will take on the role of math teacher next year, will be paid what she's paid this year plus her COLA. So the savings will be the retiree that she is replacing, which I just picked
But
that number.
the salary line that I see for the instructional coach is going to remain the salary line for this.
For the person,
Right,
and so.
different position.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So the savings, the accounting savings will be the 95,000.
And since it's we're talking about a retiree, so that, are we in the 95,000, are we taking the 20,000 for benefits?
Once we get to the number of FTEs, we'll be able to do that in the aggregate.
So when we've looked at reductions of, so far, is this the first position that we're looking at as a reduction of?
So this will be 9 total, and so this will get us to that break-even point. And so beyond this, so the last one on Tuesday night, we were able to reduce 22.5 FTEs. This would mark FTE number 9 for this evening, if I'm adding those up correctly. So that would be 31.5 FTEs, which is the exact number of FTEs that we are above last year in the proposed budget book. So to answer your question, beyond this position, we'll be able to do that moving forward, not with this one, but the next one.
Thank you. Mr. Amico?
And through the chair, if I could, this is on a retirement. This isn't on right? This is on a retirement, so I'm not sure about the 20%. I wasn't.
So the question was, are we able to reduce the health insurance in the budget because we have someone who's retiring? And the answer is not yet, but whenever we get to below the number of FTEs that we budgeted in FY25, when we get to the number of FTEs, if it's less than that for each person, we'll be able to reduce.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Our anticipated health care
Thank
costs.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Limpio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Okay, thank you all. So at this point, all of the Tier 1 reductions have been discussed. We have item number 5 is the high school, and unfortunately at the high school there are no easy reductions, so any reduction at the high school would be Tier 2. So moving forward, we're going to have some of those tough decisions where we would be looking to reduce the staff. And I think it makes sense now that we're back to the same number of FTEs as we had in the previous year. So FY25 at the front of the budget book. We had a total of 835 FTEs, and we'll be looking at that same number in this year's budget. So moving forward, we're looking at reductions that may require layoffs. And so we have those types of reductions on all items 1 through 5, and I'm happy to start at 5 or start at 1, wherever the committee would like to see us go next.
Anybody have strong feelings either way? According to the book, or we would go back to Tier 2 of special ed? I'm comfortable with that in that manner, unless somebody has a strong feeling to do it differently. Okay, so we'll go back to Tier 2 reduction discussions for special education. Dr. Vidala, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as I said, these are very challenging. All of these are important positions, and so our deaf and hard of hearing staff, we're looking to reduce by 0.8, and that would require a reduction in our staff. So the savings would be $93,907, but again, it would require a reduction in staff due to not needing those services for our students next year. And I know this is going to be an emotional night, and so I will say if there are items that we want to push off till Monday and bring up again, similar that we did, at any point, we can pause on that if the committee wants to wait. But I think moving forward, the rest of the night, we're going to be talking about positions where we may need layoffs.
Thank you. Mr. Olympio?
Thank you. And, I would just request and I think encourage, again, if some of the committee members are going to advocate that we don't cut a position, it'd be helpful for me personally to tell me then where are we getting it from? Because then that might make me think about it in a different way. If we advocate, okay, we want to keep this, we want to keep that, we have to then think about, well, where is the money coming from? Or else we'll never get done. So even that's myself included. If I find myself disagreeing with a committee member saying, no, I want to keep that position, well, then I want to come back and say, well, we're going to have to take it from this pot. So, I think that's probably a more productive way of looking at this. Instead of just saying, I want to keep it, I want to keep it, I want to keep it, we'll never get done. So that's the challenge. Of course, if the majority of us agree on cutting a position, then it's a moot point. But as we get into these tougher decisions, we have to really think, if we're advocating for keeping something, then we have to really talk about, well, where are we getting it? What other positions is this coming from? So that's, I think, the challenge that we all have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio, for that. Mr. Miko, then Mrs. Dunn.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Olympio. That was well said. I think I said this last night. Every position in Tier 2 and Tier 1, but especially in Tier 2, these are valued positions. These are positions that we've put in place over the years, or have supported over the years through the, and another thing that I didn't mention earlier, and I want to, is year after year, the mayor has come forward with additional funds to help us out when we need it. And this year, it more than likely is not going to be there, but that's not anyone's fault other than the fact that literally our funding has been cut. And we're in a place here now that, as Mr. Olympio says, we just have to make the cuts. And if we come up with better ideas or solutions to this, because it is a problem, if we come up with a solution to the problem, we'll put it forward. But right now, we have to make those cuts to get to that number. So thank you again, Mr. Olympio, for bringing that up.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. Thank you. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can remember when we started the program and we had to hire staff, and that went along with the enrollment and the number of people we needed to take care of the number of students that were in that specific program. Now those students have graduated, and actually different things have happened with the population of deaf and hard of hearing students, where sometimes technology has intervened and the number of students has gone down. So I can understand needing to reduce that program by 0.8 positions or hours. So I will make a motion that we reduce the staff in the deaf and hard of hearing program by 0.8. So moved.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mrs. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Amico. On the motion, Mr. Hockman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Dr. Vidala. I appreciate Ms. Dunn's remarks that the population is reduced, and it seems like this would be perhaps easier than it on its face than I think it is, at least for me. Typically, if we have a classroom teacher who is a third grade teacher, just let's say, and they, for some reason, need to use a sick day or a personal day because they're not well or their family members aren't well and they have things to do, we get a substitute teacher. And that substitute teacher comes from a pool of people who are, generally speaking, good and kind to our kids, and they try to follow a lesson plan perhaps and teach our kids in regular education classrooms. But that's not this population. So if I have the one teacher in the deaf and hard of hearing program who, let's say, but perhaps needs to take 2 weeks off, maybe it's a bereavement, maybe it's an extended illness or a surgery, what happens to this population?
I'd just like to ask Ms. Crompton to come up.
And I'm not, I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
trying to
absolutely.
be pragmatic and understand the ramifications of a vote. I'm not trying to pull heartstrings or do anything along those lines.
So our deaf of hard of hearing teachers, we don't have a program. They're actually supplemental teachers. So they're specialists who go in and service students in the general ed classroom. When we used to have a program, we had a larger amount of students, which is why both 1.8 were hired. This year, going from 2021-22, when we had a large amount of those students, we've significantly dropped about 20 students over that time period. So one FTE can fulfill the students we have, as well as preschoolers who may be coming in that require assessments.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Ms. Crompton. I trust you on that. I trust that one FTE is sufficient for staffing the students that are in this program. My concern is if that teacher isn't able to be here for a period of time for some reason that he or she are entitled to, if they're not well or if they have a bereavement or some other reason for not being here, what happens to these kids?
So these students are fully integrated into classrooms and are only seen by our deaf and hard of hearing teachers either 1 times 30 per week or 2 times 30 per week. So it's a very small amount of time during the week. So if they are out sick on one particular day, they would make up that time throughout the rest of the week.
So, thank you. And I guess I'm going to get an education in this program tonight, and I appreciate that. So the students that are receiving services from this staff member are fully matriculating or with regular education students. I always hated that, but in any event, I did it myself, with other students in the district, and they're able to communicate and receive instruction and understand instruction from a regular education teacher.
Yes.
These are just supports. This position is just supports that are in place to enhance their education. Is that
Correct.
is that a fair way of describing it?
Definitely, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Thank you, Ms. Crompton. Any further questions for Dr. Vidala or for Ms. Crompton? Do we have a motion? Was a motion made? We do have a motion. For Mrs. Dunn, thank you. Motion made by Mrs. Dunn, second by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote on the motion, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hockman?
With Ms. Crompton's explanation, I can support this, yes.
Mr. Limpio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Thank you. This next position is a tough one because I would typically put this in tier 3 as something I really don't want to cut, and I would. I think this position has over time.
Let's do that. Let's take a
Oh,
second.
I think we need to hear about it,
Okay.
and then. I want to put it out there, and then we can bring it up. This is a position that the reason it's in tier 2 is because it doesn't lose a job. However, I just want you to hear about the process of it. So, when I first came in, we had suspension teachers, and we eliminated those for a host of reasons, and that was not in the budget in FY21. And the Higgins created a new position. It's called SOAR program to support students. This was a position funded by ESSER. And it's not the same as an in-house suspension room anymore. It's more of a therapeutic place where kids can drop in. And so we have that position. And it was funded by ESSER for years, and then it was funded by the special ed department. And so it's in there again. And it's not an instructional position, but it's a support position. And this one is one I wrestle with. But it has been cut before, and we've survived without it. I think we're a better district with it, but it's one of those hard positions. And I wanted to put it on the list as those hard things, because this one the staff member would be able to go into the classroom because they're a certified teacher. However, it would bump another staff member. So it's not quite an easy cut, but it requires someone to lose a job, so it's tier 2. But in my heart of hearts, it's kind of tier 3. So I wanted to bring it up and answer questions about it and hear from the committee. But, you know, these are the things that we're wrestling with. And I just wanted to put that out there, that this is a tough one.
Thank you. You've heard from Dr. Vidal. Any questions or comments on this item? Mrs. Carpenter.
Thank you. Dr. Vidal, I understand these are all difficult. Could you just give me a little bit more information about it? We had this conversation 18 years ago about in-house suspension and those type of things. So it says suspension, crisis support. Are there students in the room that are suspended?
No. So the origin of this was the in-house position,
right,
and it's evolved. And so this is a pre-discipline, behavioral intervention. Kids are having a hard time, might not be able to be in the general ed class, can take their work with them, go to this room in the building and have a certified teacher in front of them who can help de-escalate them and help them do their work, and it's an alternative to suspension. And that's what it's evolved to. It used to be the in-house room, and now it's evolved to that, which I know Mr. Busey finds very valuable, and I believe as an alternative to suspension and as a way of operating in the building, it is useful. You know, and it's non-instructional, so it's one of those, there's a push and pull with it.
I understand. I'm not sure if you wanted to, or if the committee, before I go on, wanted to push this and discuss something else, and if they do, I'm not going to continue with my questions. Are we going to move on to this?
I think we should move forward.
I'm sorry, through the chair, Mayor, if I could move forward
In what way?
in what way? Move forward in
I'd like to go step by step as
so
outlined
continue.
here.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, obviously, I'm going to defer to the will of the committee, but I just, you know, I think all of these are going to be difficult if we push them
Then
all
let's just
off.
get
Then
through it.
I kind of feel
That's
like we're
fine.
going to have to make, at some point, make decisions as to where we're going to, what route we're going to take.
Okay, then I have additional questions.
But you have the floor, Mr. Miko. Is there?
But if through the chair, if Ms. Carpenter had questions, then I just wanted to make a quick statement if I could. A lot of our kids are in crisis mode. We saw this before the pandemic, we saw it during, and we're still seeing major effects of it now. Having that support in place, this is a big school, whether it's here or at the high school, it really takes only one kid to disrupt the whole building. And if you have crisis support at any level, it really, really helps. Again, these are all very important positions. I look at my own experience. We don't have a crisis person like this, but we do have many more counselors in place in my building. So I view those people as crisis support, and it is just not only for running a school and running a school building, but for the safety of students. And you know, before we can educate, we have to keep kids safe. And I would hold off on this as well. I couldn't support cutting this right now. If we had to down the road, I would, but I would probably want to move on from this one right here. Just from my own experience, we have so many kids in need. There's so many variables in place that when you have someone like this that can de-escalate a situation at ground level, it's a safety issue for many people, staff and students.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. Mrs. Dunn?
Would the committee allow us to continue to ask questions, just so, since we're on the topic, without rather having to, if we do come back to it, then we're going to have to reiterate everything? I just have one question.
I was fearful of this, so let's, I guess what I want to know now, and I'm going to ask for, I'd like to have a roll call vote. Do we want to hold this item? I don't want to ask questions on this item and then hold it, and then later at a future date, kind of go through the same items, same questions. So if we're going to hold this, which it certainly is up to you, I would like to just not get into questions now, because I do think this could, well, that's just kind of how I feel. I wanted to state that. Actually, Mrs. Carpenter, I want to go back to you, and then I'll go back to you, Ms. Dunn, if we're going to continue this. But I just want some direction as to, if we're going to hold this, then I think we should hold questions and maybe hit the next item. Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. And I think what will help me decide if we're going to hold this is through the chair to Dr. Vidala. Is there data kept as to how many students use this and what the alternative is if we do not have it?
Yes, I'll bring that on Monday. So similar, I think, to what we did with the Burke position, and I'll bring more information Monday. In the interest of time, I think we can do that and just move on.
So it's tracked. You'll be able to tell us how many students use it.
Yes.
I
Yep.
think that would help me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do too, thank you. Is everybody comfortable with that? So
Okay.
we'll hold that till Monday's.
We'll hold that till Monday. So that'll be it for item 1 tonight. Items 2 and 3 are complete, so we'll go back to the Higgins School budget for item 4. Okay. All right, so the first item under the Tier 2 reductions at the Higgins, and I talked to Mr. Busey today about this, is a proposal to reduce the 8th grade from 5 clusters to 4 clusters. This is a big change. From what I'm told, this has been done in the past. So the question, of course, is what is the data? How many students do we have? So what we'd be looking at is the maximum number of students per cluster is 112. So if you extrapolate that out, it's 448 students. Currently, I believe there are 399 in the 7th grade, rising 8th grade. The size of the clusters is 73 to 85, so 19 students per class. Reducing this would be 90 to 95 students per cluster for next year, and approximately 23 students per class. Some of these positions could be filled through attrition because we do have some retirements, but this reduction would require at least 1 to 2 layoffs.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. I'll open that up for comments, questions. Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. Through the chair to Dr. Vidala. You said this would reduce staff by 1 to 2 positions?
It'll reduce the overall staff by 4, but because of some retirements, we wouldn't have to necessarily lay people off. We just wouldn't fill those retirements. There would be some attrition there, but I think 1 to 2 people may need to be laid off.
That was my question because it said 4, so.
Yes, there's 4
Okay.
positions, but there's a couple retirements, so those can be absorbed.
Absorbed and-
But I do believe that this would require at least 1 to 2 people to be laid off.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Mr. Swanson?
Thank you. Through you to Dr. Vidala. Is there a difference reducing to 3 from 6, I'm sorry, to 4 clusters? How many clusters do we have now? I'm sorry, I apologize. 5. All right, so thank you. I just misread this.
So it's 5 clusters, 4 per grade,
Yep.
4 teachers per cluster. So there's, say, 20 teachers in the 8th grade. We would reduce it. It wouldn't necessarily, because everything goes by seniority, so there would be some shifting and things like that. It wouldn't all affect 8th grade staff.
No, I appreciate that. The way I was reading, I was reading grade 6 as a cluster number. Sorry, appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm doing the math, and I want to see if it's correct. If you have 4 clusters for the 8th grade, 95 students per cluster, that results in a class size of 27 per class. Can you check my math on that?
So it's divided by 4. So
Yeah.
95 divided by 4 is 23.75.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Olympio?
Yes, thank you. I would like to make a motion to follow the recommendation of the superintendent to reduce line number 9004, 4.0 FTEs.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mr. Amico. On the motion, Mr. Olympio?
You know, just honestly, I see nothing but red in these sheets. And it's all tough. It really is. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Any comments or questions before roll call vote? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
And again, we all recognize this is extremely difficult.
One item, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Dr.
sorry.
Vidal, if I could just interrupt you. Mr. Hockman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that I know the mayor's expressed a preference to go through these in the order that they're written. And as I look at them, I don't see a few of the items that were discussed on Tuesday, one of which may be an easy item, I don't know, but I'd like to explore that if I can before we move forward.
I'm very comfortable with that. Mr.
Thank you.
Hockman, thank you.
I appreciate. It was brought up on, I think, the budget sheet, the Director of Teaching and Learning for STEM, and I think it's a position that's not currently filled. And I think I asked if Dr. Chase, this is a position that reported to Dr. Chase, and if she could maybe give us some insight on the recommendation to not include this in the budget. And so I was hoping to maybe take that up.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Dr. Chase, is that turn it to you?
So the Director of STEM is a position that is the counterpart to the Director of Humanities. And there's an expression that we can do anything, but we can't do everything. And so when we talk about the literacy support that's been put in place with the grants and the amount of compliance that goes with it, there's an equal need to do that on the STEM side as well. It's always helpful to have someone that has that background, that has that appreciation, that can support teachers. So even though that is not a student-facing role in the same way that a classroom teacher is, there is a high level of support that teachers get from that position. That for this year, we've tried to Band-Aid it as best as we can, but when we talk about common assessments, for example, to show us where our kids are, and we need to make corrections on those things get put on the back burner. When teachers need support in terms of implementing new curriculum, it's a lot slower when you're relying on me to be able to provide that support. And so I feel like we've been able to provide a lot of support with GLEAM, with K through 5 implementation, and really raise expectations by also raising levels of support. And so that would be a huge loss on the science and the math end of it. So I feel like our teachers are working super hard every day and deserve that support. And so for me, that would be a huge loss.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. And if I just might follow up, Dr. Chase. I used to work with a Dr. Kelly, and we have a lot of respect for Dr. Kelly, and this is Dr. Chase. I really appreciate how Dr. Chase has framed that. This is in line item 22015. And this was a position that we were able to fund 50% through the appropriated budget and 50% through Title I. And I will say that when this position was not funded this year, we amended the grant, and we didn't have the Title I funds to fund it. And so I do have reservations about even being able to fund this next year, not knowing where the Title I grant is going to be in the federal grants. We've made it with this year. We're taking a lot of tough decisions tonight, and this is a tough decision, but it's really a Tier 1 decision. To your point, Mr. Hockman, it's a 0.5 and it's a $70,000 savings, but it's a teacher. It's a savings of a teacher that we would not have to cut, and it pains me to do this. You know, I've fought for this position for years, but I would support this cut before a teacher.
Thank you, Dr. Chase. Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Dr. Chase, you're good at what you do. I'm glad we have you. I'm going to make a motion that we reduce line 22015. So moved.
And just for the record, it's in the amount of $70,475.
Second.
Could you give me that number again, please?
$70,475. And it'll be a 0.5 FTE reduction.
Okay, thank you. Have you heard the motion by Mr. Hockman? That motion was seconded by Mr. Amico. On the motion, Mr. Amico?
Through the chair, I just wanted to thank Dr. Chase. At the end of every year, we meet up in her office, and I think Mr. Hockman comes in, and we discuss all the grants and all the great things that she brings into the city. And so I just want to, I know it's not easy not having that position to help you do what you do, and to help, obviously, teachers. But I just wanted to thank you for what you do, because I always look forward to our meeting at the end of the year, because we try to talk about, what we're doing next year, and you always bring out your grant sheet and all these great things that we're doing. So I just wanted to thank you personally.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Other comments? Mrs. Dunn, then Mr. Swanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think one of the most difficult things about doing the budget, especially this year, is taking apart so much of what we spent so many years building. And that is the difficulty, because when it gets right down to it, we have to be able to have teachers in front of our students. And yet we have been told for years where our deficiencies were, and they were with staff that could support our teachers, and we were finally getting to that point. And now I feel like we're taking the building apart, and I feel really bad. And I'm sorry to have to do this.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Swanson?
Thank you. Through you to the council. I agree with you, Mr. Dunn. We worked hard, and Dr., I've supported this in the past, and it's an unfortunate time that we have to make some very hard decisions. Again, these are positions I feel strongly for when we can, because they do support our teachers. They make it better for them, which ultimately becomes better for our students and churn out the products that we've been able to the students we've been able to turn out for the last few years. And unfortunately, I'm going to take on Mr. Miko's soapbox, and I wish the state and the feds looked at what they're doing to our students. So thank you very much. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Swanson. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Limpio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Thank you all. I know that was a very difficult decision. If we look at page 4, again, there'll be one more position that we'll discuss on this sheet before moving on to the next sheet. So line item 9016 at the Higgins is the guidance counselor line. There are 4 guidance counselors. Each class, each grade has their own designated guidance counselor, and there is one guidance counselor that is designated as guidance counselor at large. This particular position does not have a caseload. Rather, they provide administrative and clerical support to the department. It's a valuable position, and it is a position that supports our other guidance counselors and our associate principals and the adults in the building, but does not work with the students as much as the other guidance counselors. We had an audit of our counseling department, our K-12 counseling, and I attached 2 pages from it for the committee, and there's some highlighted recommendations from Case Collaborative around restructuring the model of this position. And so, again, this is a very, very difficult position. This person who's in the role is a senior person with us and is a veteran, would be able to stay in a guidance counselor role working with students if we were to reduce this position. And but ultimately someone would need to be laid off if we took on this reduction. So that's why the salary is lower for a lower non-professional status counselor.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vidala. We'll open this item up for discussion or questions. Mrs. Dunn?
I'll just throw this out here. So we're in the biggest mental health crisis that anybody's ever seen in the history of the world, and we're laying off counselors. That being said, if this person is doing more administrative and clerical work, their duties could be possibly given to a clerk, yet the recommendation in the report we have was that this person be direct services to students so that you would have someone working directly with the students at Higgins, especially in light of the high volume and assignment of how many students per guidance counselor. I'm just thinking that we've, a rough estimate, we've got 1,300 students and 3 guidance counselors for 1,300 students. So even if we let this person go, and someone's going to need to do the paperwork, but we're not following what the recommendation was about being able to have a guidance counselor available for the students. If you look at the size of the high school and the Higgins, they both have this very, very close population. It's 13, I think it's only, all right, it's 1344 at Higgins, 1350 at the high school. But if you look at the number of guidance counselors at the high school as opposed to the number at Higgins, that is a very big difference. And I'm just wondering, are we going to basically restructure our services in line with the recommendations of the report, where it talks about the duties of a guidance counselor versus the duties of a school adjustment counselor? I know we can't do it in 2 days, and I understand that, so we're working with what we currently have. But are there any plans to do that as we go forward?
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Excellent points all around. And the short answer is yes. We do plan to try to implement these. As you know, Mr. Quist is retiring. We have a new director of K-12 counseling coming in. And it'll probably be a 2 to 5 year. So I think year one, the person will come in and just try to learn our practices and work with our people. Fortunately, she's a parent. She has kids at the Carroll School, so she works with the counselors and knows them. So she has some knowledge, and she's been shadowing Mr. Quist already, and so hit the ground running on July 1st. I don't see any major changes for next year. That'll be a learning year, and then in 2 to 5 years, I think we would try to implement some of the best practices in counseling, which I think our counselors do a great job with one hand tied behind their back and with limited resources. So I think the short answer is yes, and the longer answer is it's going to take some time.
Okay, thank you. And if I may, just one more thing, Mr. Mayor. I know we have to deal with what's in front of us right now, and I understand that, and that's doing the budget. But I'm going to throw another monkey wrench into everybody's brain right now. We're talking about building a new high school. And one of the issues with the building itself is restructuring the way that the guidance department actually not only operates in a building, but where it is physically placed. There are all kinds of studies about things, and there's all kinds of studies about what's wrong with our program. So just to ruin your night even further, I'm sorry, but that's one of the things that I'm thinking of. If we need additional staff, where do you put them? We've run out of closets. And that's what's happening. We're providing services in inadequate surroundings, which contributes to a problem. And this is just going to exacerbate it, I'm sure. So I'm sorry to bring it up, but I thought I may as well throw it out there.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Right. I don't think we have a motion on the floor. Still open up for discussion. Mr. Amico?
I'll make a motion to follow the recommendation of the superintendent to reduce that one position, guidance counselor. So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Amico, for the motion, seconded by Mr. Swanson. On the motion, Mr. Hockman.
Yeah, thank you. I usually like to explain when I'm going to vote no. I'm just having a hard time at this point. Ms. Dunn nailed it. The mental health crisis, we all know what's going on. Mr. Amico nailed it earlier with the position that we moved off. When we don't, one student who's having a tough day disrupts a whole building. Guidance counselors do an awful lot to help support kids with real issues and sometimes, as much as we hope those supports come from elsewhere, they don't always. So I think ultimately this may be something that I have to consider a little bit differently, but for right now, I would consider all social and emotional considerations as tier 3. That's just the times that I think that we're in. It's my experience with being in schools in Peabody as fairly regularly. It's my experience with talking to teachers and staff members. I'm just not at a place where I can support this right now.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Mrs. Carpenter.
Thank you. I think we've all said it. A lot of this stuff is tough. It's hard. It's not easy. I'm sure Dr. Vidala has struggled more than us at this point to even put it on paper. So, thank you, and I'm sorry you had to do that. I just need to clarify through the chair to Dr. Vidala. And I agree with all of what you've said, what Mrs. Dunn has said, Mr. Hockman, but I just need to clarify. On the paper, it says this position does not directly see students, right?
Yes, and so I I know the position is valuable to the, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but the key responsibilities are they facilitate the IST, they manage the associated paperwork, they coordinate the 8th grade referrals to the high school. So it seems to me it's more of an administrative and clerical role. It's not a caseload of students, similar to the ones that follow the students grades 6, 7, 8.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Any other, Mrs. Dunn?
I'll be honest, that's the only reason I can support cutting this position. If you told me that this person was going to be a guidance counselor, we were going to hire a clerk to do the paperwork, I'd be cheering. But right now, that person is not a traditional guidance counselor role, and so I can understand cutting it.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Hockman?
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate that, but someone's going to be doing this work. And the someone that's going to be doing this work is the 3 guidance counselors that are left here. And if those 3 guidance counselors are doing this work, they're not spending as much time with students. And that's, you know, I understand the, you know, why Dr. Vidala have this position before us, but the reality of it is it's less support for students.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Amico?
Thank you, through the chair to the committee. What I was thinking is, I'm going to continue with the motion, and not because I really can't support it, but I'm going to make the motion because, as through the chair, as Mr. Olympio said, you know, I don't have another solution. The only other solution I have is if there is some supplemental funding coming back from the state. So I would, and I don't think that's happening after reading the paper and you know, and reading online today. But I would think that what we can do is we can put some of these positions in a, you know, we're cutting them, but if we do have any funding, whether it's through a retirement, through a non-renewal, whether someone takes a job, that maybe we can, you know, the superintendent can come back to us and say, you know, I have an extra $75,000 because someone left or whatever. Maybe we can revisit that next year. But as Mr. Olympio said, this is all red. I mean, we can sit here all night, we can sit here all week. We have to get to the number and then go from there. And again, just pray for some funding coming from the state.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Mr. Swanson, did you have your hand?
Yes, thank you. I'm gonna bind on this one, and I honestly don't know which way I'm gonna vote. I agree that middle school is, it's an area where we need the support staff. We need the counseling, the guidance. We have how many other elementary schools coming into one? We have a lot of students going through changes through that time, not only just relocation and being moved in here. This one's giving me a hard time, and I apologize, and I respect Mr. Olympia. I don't know where else I can find this money yet, but I respect your thoughts on asking us to, holding us accountable, honestly, to find places finding areas to replace these funds. But this one's extremely hard for me. I don't know how I'm going to vote on it yet. I would ask us if we do keep this, that we do take the recommendation of the case study and then actually build use these positions to add more counseling to the students as opposed to somebody that's not facing the students. But thank you. Again, I'm not sure how I'm going to vote on this one yet.
Thank you. Mrs. Dunn?
This question is a bit off topic. When we figured out the budget, and you calculated in the Chapter 70 funds that we're supposed to get, what was the delta for this per pupil money? Did you put in 104 or 150 per pupil? Do you know?
So we're not a minimum aid district for our Chapter 70 purposes, so we didn't get 104. We got a little bit more than that. I believe it's...
Because I know that they're looking at 150 per student.
It would not change ours because we're not a minimum aid district. We got more than that. We're an SOA district. So we got a little over $1 million in additional Chapter 70 from 37 million to 38 million. And then it's just that number divided by the 5850, and that gives us our per pupil. But that, unfortunately, our Chapter 70 money hasn't gone up on any of the cherry sheets that have been proposed, so.
Thank you, because I know this was prepared before all the debate with the Senate and the House and the reconciliation of the budgets. I wasn't sure which number you were able to use. Okay.
So,
Thank you,
so
Mrs. Dunn.
technically, we get about 180 a student
Good.
is what we received because of our population.
Okay.
Thank you. Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. So before I say what I'm going to say, I just want to start with saying I agree with Mr. Olympio when you don't want to support something. I understand there's feelings, there's emotion, but coming up with a solution definitely helps because we're just going to be back here again. So with that being said, forgive me, Mr. Olympio, because this is only half of a solution of what I'm going to propose. But is there some way to take the crisis support suspension position and combine it with the counselor at large so that paperwork's getting done and we're still supporting? It's only half of a solution, but
It's creative. Would the committee be willing to let me talk to Mr. Busey and Ms. Crompton and bring this back to you on Monday? Because it might make one of the reductions easier.
Could you say that again, Mrs. Carpenter? So
the discussion on the guidance counselor at large, where I pointed out they're not directly with students, but as Mr. Hockman pointed out, they're providing clerical administrative support, which would then fall on the leftover guidance. So can that position be absorbed through the crisis support position where they're supporting students and able to do the paperwork, or however they work that out?
the Tier 2 position from special ed that we held?
From page 1.
Okay.
Yep. And the page 4, guidance counselor at large.
Well, if everybody's comfortable with that?
I'll withdraw my motion. Thank you.
Yes,
Hold
go
it
back,
for
Mr.
Monday.
Hartman.
Yeah. Thank you. I just want to go back quickly to the Director of Teaching and Learning for STEM. I think what I heard was that the reduction amount is less than what I see in the budget book because half of that money is from Title I.
Right, so there's two positions. So the STEM position is half of that. There's a humanities position as well, which represents the other half of that.
Okay.
Which is funded half from the appropriate budget and half from Title I.
But so since are we going to, since the position isn't going to be filled, are we going to have some funding in Title I that we could use elsewhere?
We didn't this year, and I don't know what the
Okay.
federal allocations will be, so I'm not comfortable
we're
just
sticking with
yet.
that 74,000.
So we'll stick with the 70, and we'll
Yeah.
keep crunching numbers and just keep chipping away at it.
Okay.
Okay.
That item, and actually, I'd like to take a 5-minute break before we go to the Tier 2 for high school. Why don't we take a 5-minute break? Thank you. right, thank you, everybody. We'll go back to our discussion, and I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Vidala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the final sheet that we have, if we jump from the Higgins, which is sheet 4, to the high school, which is sheet 5, we haven't discussed the high school yet. There were no easy Tier 1 reductions there. However, we've spent a lot of time this budget season talking about class size at the elementary level and really wrestling over having class sizes of a goal of 18 to 22 at the elementary level and, you know, keeping things under the contractual rates. I asked Ms. Randall and her team to look at the class size averages in each department at the high school. So if we look at the 5 major departments of English, Math, Science, Social Studies, and World Languages, on the supporting page, a supporting document that's color-coded, we currently have budgeted 14 English teachers, 16 math teachers, 16 science teachers, 15 social studies teachers, and 8 world language teachers. And our class size in each of those departments, this year, in the blue, English has a class size of 20, math has a class size of 15, science has a class size of 14, average class size in social studies is 21, and the average class size in our world languages is 16. When we look at the projections for next year and the number of students who will be enrolled, class size in English drops down to 19, math to 17, science to 15, social studies to 20, and world languages to 18. So as we look at class sizes, they're in a really good place. And under typical budget years, this would be wonderful. This would be something to celebrate. And as we look to reductions, if we look to reduce one position in each of those subject areas, we have the impact on the average class size. So if we reduce one English teacher, the average class size would be 21. If we reduce one math teacher, the average class size would be 18. Reducing one science teacher leaves an average class size of 16. One social studies teacher leaves an average class size of 22. And a world language teacher, an average class size of 22. Now, what I will say with our world languages is because of the number of languages we offer, reducing in that area because there are only 8, there's about half as many teachers in that department as there are in the other departments, may result in us not being able to offer something. So we might not be able to offer a specific language. So I think that I would treat world language reductions differently because of the small number of teachers in the courses that they teach. I think the first 4 are much less impactful for our students. Of course, they're significant, but the departments are bigger, so the net average changes less. When the department is cut in half, you see twice the impact from one reduction. So I'll leave it there with the 5 things listed in Tier 2 for discussion with the committee.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. I'll open that item up for comments or questions. Thank you, Mr. Hockman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Dr. Vidala. In looking at I don't know that the line items correspond, unless I'm still reading this wrong, because I have science as 10,006 in the backup.
Yes, science should be 10,006, so it should go.
They're all off by 1.
They're all off by 1.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
So
4, 5, 6, and then is it 8, 9? Yes, we
Yes.
don't have 7, so go 4, 5, 6, 8, 9.
right, okay. So in the science position, I'm looking at the backup, or this page 2, I should say, and I see the first line in that, it's on page 14A.
Yes.
So, and then it says, the first line in that, open position, and then in parentheses is a person's name.
That's retiring.
So that person's retiring, so if we were to reduce this position, it would be...
By that number,
It'd be
then,
attrition, it wouldn't be a person?
correct. That's an excellent point. So we can change my number to that number, which is 97,982.
982. And then we'd be able to also save now that we're beyond the 9 positions, we'd also be able to save health insurance.
Yes, we will be, and so what I'll recommend is
You'll do
that
that
we'll
later.
do that for Monday, but as we reduce the positions, we'll keep that. I'll calculate it for Monday and bring that number to Monday.
So I would, for the purposes of the conversation and the record, I guess, that we're maintaining, I would move that science teacher position into a Tier 1 reduction because it's not eliminating a job.
And what was the number on that again, Dr. Vidala?
97,982.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Good catch. Mr. Olympio?
And just, I know we'll go over this Monday, but for every position, so is it a multiple of 20%? So if we take a position, multiply it by 1.2, that will be the true savings to the budget with the health insurance figure? Is that a safe number to use or no?
The way I've been thinking of it is about $21,000. So I've been looking at it in terms of a flat number, approximately $21,000. Okay. Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
So with this, I'll make a motion, and I'm going to take these separately, if it's all right, to follow the recommendation of the superintendent with regard to one science teacher at the high school. So moved.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Hockman, seconded by Mr. Olympio. On the motion, Mr. Olympio.
Yes. What was, just real quick again, what was that the figure? That was 90?
97,982.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
And Mr. Miko?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Open that back up for comments and questions.
So I do see that your argument with class size, and with the reduction we just made, science classes on average will have 16 students as opposed to 15 students. The next smallest would be math. For me at least, two of the hardest subjects for me. So I understand small class size is important there. And I didn't ask this question, and I should have before I brought up the science teacher, but what is this, if we take up the math, let's keep it with the math teacher, what are we looking at in terms of offerings? Is there a reduction in offerings? Is there a reduction in tiers, right? Presently we have AP, honors, CP1, CP2.
No reduction in offerings. The classes, so if there are, say, 10 algebra classes offered, 9 would be offered, and the 10th class would be spread among the others. Or if there's 6 offered, 5 would be offered, and the students would be spread. So the offerings remain the same, the levels remain the same. The impact is that the students from the class reduction are spread out. So the courses that are reduced are the ones that have multiple sections, typically algebra, geometry, those things, and the students would be spread throughout, resulting in a slight uptick in class size.
So we're not going to see a child that's currently in a CP2 class bumped into an honors class and lost, right? We're going to,
Correct. And,
Yeah.
and the one-offs, like AP Physics, may have 12 students. We're going to run AP Physics with 12 students. But freshman biology, I think we added a teacher at one time to have 13 kids per class because it was an assessed course, may have 15 kids in a class or 16 kids in a class.
and if we were to follow this recommendation, this proposal, nothing's a recommendation, I'm not putting that on you. If we were to follow this proposal, guidance is still able to make scheduling work and all that stuff?
Yes, we'll be able to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Any other comments or questions? Mrs. Dunn?
It's acceptable at this time, well, it really isn't, but we have to do it, just from the viewpoint of looking forward of maybe someday being able to have the mass core requirements for graduation as opposed to just the minimals. And I think we might still be able to do it because of the lower enrollment with that number of teachers, but I know that at some point we need to look at how we provide the courses and the requirements for our students. And it gets into that world language issue, which I'm glad we've kind of carved that out for the time being, but it's getting really close to the bone on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Thank you. Mr. Amico?
While everyone else is looking, and I have as well, I just wanted to throw out some statistics here. Some generated monies through the state this year, okay? Online sports gambling. In January of 2025, $93.6 million was collected in 1 month. That was a record for Massachusetts. Marijuana, another record. 2024-25, $1.6.4 billion in gross sales generated. The new millionaires tax projections $2.5 billion in 2025, and in 2026 they're projecting $2.6 billion. MCAS, in order to administer MCAS over the next 5 years, $150 million. Just wanted to throw out those numbers, and we're cutting teachers and guidance counselors and crisis support people.
Mr. Amico, can you give those numbers again? That was...
Yep. It's a
Very
quick
interesting.
search. It's record sales for online gaming in January of 2025, $93.6 million. It was a 36% increase year over end of 2024. Marijuana 2024 was $1.64 billion in gross sales. The new millionaire tax projections in 2025, $2.5 billion. And that's on a 4%, I believe through the chair to Mr. Lynn, I think that's a 4%, right? Is that what it is? Yep. And then $2.6 billion in 2026 projected. And the contract to administer MCAS indirectly is $150 million over 5 years in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Wow. Wow.
Wasn't all the money from the millionaire tax supposed to come for education?
thought it was a piece of, it was going to be transportation.
Yeah, split.
Yeah. I'm not sure of the percentages, but I know transportation was a part of it.
That's why Quincy's getting a $25 million parking garage.
All right, we're still on item Tier 2. Those 4 positions, or certainly separately, can be discussed. Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter.
Through the chair to Mr. Amico, can you look up where the money went after that?
The chair, I can tell you where it didn't go.
I can too.
That's in the audit coming, right?
Well, I guess we have to move on. So unfortunately, I'm going to make a motion to reduce the 1 FTE math teacher at the high school.
Second.
Thank you for the motion by Mrs. Carpenter, seconded by Mr. Olympio for the math teacher position. Mrs. Dunn, on that motion? That one is a Tier 2. Yep. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Unfortunately, I'm going to go down the list, I guess. I'm going to make a motion to reduce the 1 FTE English teacher at the high school.
Second.
Thank you for the motion by Mrs. Carpenter, seconded by Mr. Amico. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
And Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Carpenter? Oh, I thought you were going. Sorry. Mr. Olympio?
Make a motion to reduce 1 FTE under the Tier 2 for social studies, line 1008.
Thank you for the motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Like to make a motion to, we have world language, correct? Yes. I'd like to make a motion to reduce 1 FTE for world language at the high school, line number 10009.
Can I second for discussion?
Absolutely. So motion's been seconded for discussion. Open for discussion, Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. Was this one we were going to revisit after you figured out which
Can I get some more information on this from
Yeah.
Ms. Randall?
Yeah.
I think we could use some more information before we vote on world languages.
I would-
I just want to I want to know, because we offer so many different languages and the size of the classes and the number of requests, and I'll have that for you on Monday.
Okay. I'll withdraw.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Okay, so
So we've done Tier 2, except for that we've paused on a couple.
there was, if I could, Dr. Vidal, just jump into, I believe, and I might be incorrect on this, but I thought that there were still Tier 2 items from elementary
Yes, that is correct. So
I didn't know, but before we went to Tier 3, I didn't know if we wanted to revisit Tier 2.
I think that's a good idea.
Those were looks like 5 positions.
Yes, and so if we look at this, the Burke Elementary position was discussed, that was the Milestones position, so we have brought that one up, but the Brown position and the 3 Carroll positions we have not brought up. So to refresh people's memories, I'll speak about them individually, and then we can either pull them out individually or discuss it how the committee wants. So at the Brown Elementary School, there are currently 2 people under the reading interventionist position. There's a 2.0. It's the only elementary school that's budgeted at 2.0. Every single other one is budgeted at 1.0. They have a second interventionist that we hired through ESSER funds during a time when they were in need of assistance. They've come out of that position. Obviously, it's a great position, and we value it. However, it's the only school with a second interventionist that is funded out of the appropriated budget. We have met with that teacher individually, and there is a position at the Brown School that this person could fill and is willing to fill. And so that's the Brown position, and the savings would be $74,577.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. On that item, Mr. Olympio?
I'll make a motion to reduce 1 FTE under Tier 2 for the Brown School. Yeah, it's no specific line though, right? Just it's the Brown School.
I can give you the line item, because I know that was requested coming in. That line item is 1004.
Yeah. All right. Make a motion to reduce Brown Elementary School line item 1004, 1 FTE.
Second.
Thank you. Further motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mr. Amico. On the motion, Mr. Huckman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Dr. Vidala. When I look at 1004, I see 2 lines. One says math and reading interventionist, and the other says teacher reading.
Yes.
Are we talking, so when you say that there's 2 reading interventionists at the Brown School, is one of them also involved in math?
So everyone has a reading position, and then one was the additional position, and depending on the year, they did math and reading. So that position is the one that's unique to the Brown School, and we don't have that funded in any other one.
The first line.
Correct.
Okay, so are we, if we vote in favor of this reduction, are we losing math? What do we usually call them? Math tutors, not interventionists, right?
So that we would be able to hire tutors out of different funding sources if there were funds available for that to replace this, but we would be losing the service to be consistent with all the other elementary schools.
And the person, we'd be losing the position, but not the person. They'd be staying in the Brown School, but there would be a reduction through retirement or bumping or
Through a retirement. It'll be, there's an open position that they'll be able to fill.
So when I look at the first page on the Brown School, and it gives me the graph on the 3/4 of the way down with the FY26 enrollment projections and teacher projections and class size projections, would that change, or this person would make those numbers work?
So it would not be a classroom position. It would be one of the other positions up above.
Okay.
And now that the center school is back online, in the next iteration of the budget, those enrollment numbers and classes numbers that we voted on Tuesday will be updated.
Okay.
But the position wouldn't be a general ed classroom position. It would be a professional support position.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Any other comments or questions on this item? Is there a motion? I don't know if there's been a motion.
Yes.
It was seconded? Thank you. Okay. No other comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hockman?
No.
Mr. Limpio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the next block here is under the Carroll Elementary School. So I'll give line items. The guidance position is 3016. It's a counselor position, but it's budgeted under the guidance position. The ELL position is 3008. And the special ed position is 3011. Those are the line items. The counselor was created with ESSER funds and then put into the appropriated budget. The ELL position and the special ed position were funded out of, I believe they were funded, I want to look at, see what we did for FY25. Yep, so we had an increase of 1.0 from FY25. And if we go back to FY24, we had 4.0 for special ed and 5.0 for ELL. So basically what we're proposing, we reduced 1 in each of these areas, ELL and special ed, because they're losing 100 kids from the center school. So those were added from 25 to 26, those were added. What we're proposing now is reducing further to bring us back to the FY24 numbers. So we operated under the same staffing levels in FY24 for these two positions, for ELL and special ed.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn.
On ELL, does that reduce the 6 to 4?
Yes, on ELL, 5, 7 to 5. No, I might be looking at the wrong. Yes, it would be 4. I'm sorry, you're right. It would be less staff. It would go 6 to 4. For some reason, I thought we had 7.
Okay.
Budgeted, we had 6. Thank you.
Mr. Swanson?
Thank you. I had that same question through to Dr. Vidal. Could you explain that one more time? So it's going to be reduced by 1 because potentially going back, redistribution to the center, and then this reduction?
So the committee voted in Tier 1 to reduce 1 ELL and 1 special ed teacher from the Carroll to go back to the center. These would be additional reductions beyond that, and then thus reducing that support further.
Thank you.
The first one we justified with the loss of 100 students. This one would just create larger caseloads.
Thank you for the clarity.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Mr. Olympio?
And just to reiterate, there would be no jobs lost in these.
With these ones, we can absorb the positions in other areas.
Thank you.
Because there'll be open positions
Yep.
with attrition and retirement in these departments.
Thank you.
And I know I put them as a 3.0, but if we were to do it because they're so unique, I would recommend that we take them individually. And the ELL is line item 3008, special ed 3011, and counselor 3016.
Mr. Olympio?
I'd like to make a motion to reduce for the Carroll Elementary School line 30161 FTE.
Second.
Okay, thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mr. Amico. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
No.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
And just for our calculations,
Yeah,
that's 63,993.
Are they all 74, 577? Just make sure.
So these ones are all calculated at 74577 based on the other positions where these people will go. So those were that's the placeholder number that we had in the open positions at the center, and it's what we use as an open position as the average salary. So the net reduction for each of these will be 74577.
But this position would not include health insurance, right? Because we're just,
It would, because of in the aggregate we're losing it from the overall FTEs.
all right.
Because we're there now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Olympio?
I'd like to make a motion to reduce at the Carroll Elementary School line number 3008, 1 FTE.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mr. Amico.
And
On the motion, Mr. Huckman?
was this the line that Ms. Dunn talked about where we're going from 6 to 4?
We're going from 6 to 4.
Okay, Mrs. Dunn?
When it says combined grades, how many grades would be combined if we take away a position like that?
So they would go. So right now they have 6, pretty much 1 per grade. If they can do it, if there's bubbles, they share and things like that. So we'd be looking at basically 3 grades would be covered by 2 teachers, K to 2 covered by 2 teachers, and then 3 to 5 covered by 2 teachers with some variation depending on what they need. So right now we'd have enough that everybody could do 1 grade, and if there's a bubble, they do that, or they share the wealth by going to a specific grade and doing that. So it would basically be an average of a grade and a half instead of a grade per staff member.
Okay, thank you.
And the same result for special ed because the number will be 4 as well. So it'd be about a grade and a half.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Any additional questions?
Oh, no, I'm
Yep,
sorry,
good.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
No.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
No.
Mrs. Dunn?
No.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Tie. Mayor Betancourt?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to reduce Carroll Elementary School line number 3011, 1 FTE.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mr. Amico. Any comments? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
No.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
No.
Mrs. Dunn?
No.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mayor Betancourt?
Yes. All right, so at this time, Dr. Vidala, would we be going into Tier 3? All right, I wanted to propose that we break now. We have our meeting set up for Monday at 5. We have a meeting set up for Tuesday at 5 that I was going to ask if we can move back to 6 on Tuesday. And then I suggest we do mark off a meeting for Wednesday, if needed. How does everybody feel about that potential plan?
Yeah, whatever we need.
Mr. Hockman?
Adding the Wednesday is, I think, is a good idea. Is there, since we don't have meetings behind these meetings, is there any reason why we don't start at 7? Because it looks like after about 2.5 hours of this torment, we're exhausted. So that would get us out at a reasonable time anyway. Would it be okay if we just started the budget meetings at 7 when we have no meeting behind it?
I think that's a fair point. I would like to set up, if we could keep the Monday at 5, but then on Tuesday, I'm fine with pushing it back to 7, and maybe Wednesday to 7. I know on Wednesday there's because we're starting to run into school events. On Wednesday, I know there's on Tuesday there is the junior ROTC group at 6 o'clock is having their award night. So, I know a number of us would like to go to that. So it might not be a bad idea to maybe on Tuesday and Wednesday having them at 7 p.m. And then keeping, though, the 5 on Monday, because that one might be a long one.
I'm sorry. We just got a message about the George Peabody Awards. Can anyone remember what night that is?
Tuesday afternoon.
Oh, Tuesday after.
Yeah, that's
okay.
the 27th at 6 p.m.
Okay.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
We're doing the meeting at 7.
All right, so
We should laminate Ms. Macarelli's list.
yes.
So
All right,
we
so
have it with us.
So what I would propose then is to break now, meet on May 19th, keep the 5 p.m. date. If we could, and I think, Marge, then we would ask you to change this on Tuesday, May 20th. I think we currently have it scheduled for 5, if we can move it back to 7. And then also on Wednesday, May 21st, have a meeting set up for 7. Yep. And then we'll see where we're at. But I anticipate Monday will be a very difficult day and might want to see how far we can go with it. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, have the 7 p.m. times. Yes, Mr. Swanson.
Before we break, just for clarification, Dr. Vidala, under the elementary schools, Tier 2, Brook Elementary, sorry,
That was the milestones teacher that we did on sheet 2 tonight.
okay. All right, thank you. That's the one we had questions about.
Yes,
Okay,
so
thank
I brought it
Yep.
through a different format,
Thank you.
but unfortunately, we can't reduce it twice.
No, and I appreciate that, and I don't want to do that. I just want to make sure we had that one covered. Thank you. Thank you.
And can we, does anyone have a number?
Yeah, I wanted to work on the number before I'm sorry, I want to work on the number before, we can adjourn now, and then I was going to spend some time coordinating the number. Yes. Or do we want to do that now before we adjourn?
Before we adjourn, I
Yeah, okay.
don't want to.
All right, then why don't we give us a minute here? And let me see if I get that. All right, so right now I have us at $100,770,327. $100,770,000, excuse me, $100,770,327. That's what we currently are at. 2.1. Okay. All right, everyone, so we'll move to recess until Monday, 5 p.m. here at the Higgins Middle School Library. Thank you, everyone.